In today's War Thunder video, we're going to be talking about how to get better at moving around the map and also understanding the in-game map. Plus, I'll be showing you guys some handy tips and tricks whenever it comes to War Thunder, since I've been playing this game for a very long time. Also, towards the end of the video, I'll be doing some live gameplay where I do some commentary to show you guys what at least I look at whenever it comes to viewing the minimap, and then also some of the strategies that I use to actually do well within War Thunder. One big lesson that I've learned from playing games like Call of Duty or other FPS games is how important it is to actually view the minimap and understand the minimap. Minimaps in general can just tell you exactly what is going on within the game, and it also applies to War Thunder as well. Really, the only thing that I would value over looking at the minimap and understanding the minimap is sound, because sound can tell you a lot of what tank you're facing, where they're at, and then also if they fired their cannon or not, and you can actually engage them. So whenever it comes to actually viewing what I find the most important, it'll probably be something like knowing how to play tanks. Then it's definitely learning how to actually view the minimap, and then finally it will be sound. So number 2 on the list of stuff that I think is really important to know is something that I really want to make a good video about. So when it comes to War Thunder, I assume that you probably already know that minimaps show where capture points are, they show where the enemy spawns are, and they also show where your teammates and as well as where enemies might be. So one thing to understand is actually the symbols on the minimap whenever you view them. Each symbol has different meanings. So like for example, whenever it comes to medium tanks, they resemble a table with 2 legs. Light tanks appear as dashes. Heavy tanks resemble a table with like a weight added on top of it. SPGs resemble a tank with a gun elevated, and SPAs resemble a inverted table. And being familiar with these symbols is a good thing. I wouldn't really say that you have to remember them, but overall it's a really good thing to just be familiar with. It's not imperative to actually memorize all these things, because there's other ways to figure out like what tanks you're facing or what vehicles that you're facing in general. And as we know, sometimes tank labels are heavily misleading. For example, like the AMX-50 is considered a heavy tank, but I wouldn't really ever consider that tank heavily armored in any sense. But when it comes to symbols, the most crucial one to actually recognize and to remember is the skull icon. The skull icon can appear for both teams. It can appear for your team and as well as the enemy team. And whenever it's your team, you definitely need to pay attention, because most of the time that will mean that an enemy is within the vicinity of that teammate that is currently dead. So if you're next to that teammate, you definitely need to keep on the lookout, because there's an enemy tank that you can currently engage. And since you have a lot more information than that tank currently does, you know what tank it is because of the kill log. You also know what round it was shooting, so you know if your tank can actually just face tank that enemy round. And you also know in a general idea of where he's at. So you have more information because you're able to use the minimap and kind of see where that. And even if you know the map very well, you can actually kind of triangulate of where your teammate actually got killed from. And here's even a bigger tip. If you actually view your teammate's carcass where they died at, and you can see that the turret was turned towards a particular area, this could also indicate of where that enemy was at before they died. So definitely there's a lot of information you can get from just looking at the minimap and also just referencing where your teammate has died from. The next symbol to understand is whenever a enemy tank is flashing on your minimap. All this really means is that it is either for one scouted, it has been hit by a friendly tank, or that it has been something that CAS has hit with their MGs, or they dropped a bomb and they currently have not killed the tank. So whenever a tank that is red or whatever color that you have set for your enemy team is flashing, it just means that they are kind of spotted on the enemy minimap. So here's another tip that you know if you want your teammates to give you a little bit more of support. So if you're going around the corner, let's just say that there's a Tiger 1 and you shoot your gun out and you don't have a gun and you just still have a 50 cal from your Sherman, you can start MGing the tracks, which will then break the tracks of the Tiger 1, but it will also make the tank appear on the minimap. So maybe if you have a teammate next to you, or maybe when it's kind of near you, they can come and help support you whenever it comes to that. So it is definitely one of the things that you gotta realize. If you have someone who is doing the same thing to you, just realize that you're being pinged on the map, and then people can actually see where you're at and come and get you whenever it comes out as well. So the last thing to know whenever it comes to minimap symbols is that sometimes you can see a faded icon whenever it comes to an enemy, or whenever it comes to a friendly. Whenever it's a friendly faded icon, that just means that an enemy has recently killed a tank in that area. So whenever you view those, sometimes they're very, very hard to see because of how faded they are. You can actually see that maybe there's something in that area that I should look out for whenever it comes to enemy vehicles. Now, this is one that comes after these skull icons, so it's really just a, if you see this, you kind of got lucky type of thing, but they do both disappear after a certain amount of time. And then finally, to note about scouting, so light tanks can scout within War Thunder, but the thing about scouted light tanks is that the actual marker of where the enemy kind of moves around, it's not directly where the enemy is at. So let's just say that a light tank scouts a target, you go around the corner and you look for that marker and it's not there, or he's like a little bit to the left or right of that marker. You do definitely have to realize that can also be a possibility as well. Whenever somebody scouts, they're not completely accurate of where the marker should be at. So one of the most crucial things whenever it comes to the minimap is when to actually check it. I typically check the minimap whenever I observe friendlies dying within the kill log. It makes me understand where there can be areas of the map that need reinforcing, or that they just will be completely lost. As we know, there's spawn camping within War Thunder, there's different things that can happen, and it is one of those things that you kind of just have to realize maybe that spawn is completely just dead and you can't really spawn there anymore. So it is definitely one of those things to do, but I would never recommend getting tunnel vision on it. I would never recommend just viewing the minimap as much as you can, because you definitely still need to look out for tanks in the distance. You still need to look out for enemy tanks whenever it comes to sound, and the minimap is just there to really give you more of an idea of what to do during the games. It definitely is something that people can very much get hyper fixated on. As I know from Call of Duty, whenever that advanced UAV came around, there was a bunch of people that would just look at the minimap to see where the enemies are, but then someone had like a Ghost Pro on, and then you got completely dominated. So it is the same thing in War Thunder. You can see someone spotted on the minimap, you can go towards them, and then someone that wasn't spotted is just camping in the corner and they shoot you. So you need to be cognizant of both areas. Don't get tunnel vision, and you should do pretty well. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is how to move on the minimap or find your opening locations whenever it comes to the game just starting. And I know this is an example that probably won't work for a lot of you, but I'm going to use the example of chess. How do you learn chess? Like as a brand new player to the game, what you do is you just move stuff until you find something like a rhythm that maybe you just enjoy doing, or that you think can possibly win your games. It's basically the same thing in War Thunder. Whenever you're playing like rank 1 and 2, pretty much just expect a player to just go anywhere on the map and kind of be just nonchalant, just wherever I am, I just do what I do type of play style. But whenever you're getting into rank 3, that's whenever you start developing openings. You know, whenever you see, for example, let's say Normandy, some people go towards the actual monument on the city side, which is a opening that a lot of people go for. Now let's just say that you go there every single game. What is your goal of doing that opening every single game? You're trying to learn where you're countered from, what enemies come there at certain times. You know, what can you improve upon every death whenever it comes to using that opening? It is one of the things that you have to kind of just cognitively do to get better at the game. I don't think there's any just best opening within the game. I think all of them have some sort of like good thing to do to them. It's just that you find positions over time. Maybe someone shot you from this position, so then you learn about that position. It's one of those things that you just learn of, and it's the same thing that happens with chess. You don't just start out an expert. You play and play and play, and the repetition of playing gives you more information of what you should do in those situations. Now, there does come times that you do have to adjust your strategies whenever you're playing different tanks. Let's just say that you're playing a heavy tank and then you switch over to a light tank or a medium tank. The playstyle of the heavy tank is not really going to be the same as playing a light or a medium tank. The light tank can easily get to positions way quicker than a heavy tank could. And then also something to note about War Thunder is that most of the time whenever you're facing like a 1 versus like 5, you're not going to win it. So if your team is lemon training to, let's just say, 1 capture point within the map, it might not be worth going to that 1 capture point all by yourself, because you know what normally happens when that happens is the whole enemy team will be there and you will most likely not be able to counter them all. So I would highly recommend just looking at what your team's doing within the first like couple of seconds within the match. You know, if they're going towards just 1 capture point, if they're spreading out evenly, or if, you know, you're in a particular tank that has a particular playstyle, you might have to adjust it to where it actually works for you. So it's not really just a one-all beats all type thing whenever it comes to positioning. It's one of those things that you do definitely have to learn, and definitely learn whenever you do need to adapt to a new actual positioning strategy. So, and then finally, guys, don't beat yourself up on learning new positions within War Thunder. It comes over time. It's one of those things that we all had to begin with, of just learning what War Thunder is about, what it does, and it's just a part of the learning process. Yes, I can go around and just show you weird and wonderful, wacky positions that you can get in within certain maps, and the ones that at least I know of. But the problem with really doing that is that, yeah, they're wacky, wonderful positions, but it's not for everyone. Some people would not like going to spots that I like to go to, and then you'll go to spots that I don't like to go to. So it's definitely one of those things that you just have to learn. But yeah, let's get on to the live gameplay, and we will describe what we're doing during the match. So in this match, we're going to be playing Stalingrad. As you can see, it is a down tier with the M4A 176. And we see that we have a battle map, which means there's only going to be 2 capture points. And as you see, both spawns for both enemy teams and our friendly team is on each side of the map. So for me, at least, I like to push this area whenever it comes to this part of the map. I really like having the cover from all of the, trying to record here please, but yeah, I really like this part of the map because you have a lot of cover whenever it comes to cast planes. You also just have a ton of cover whenever it comes to just tanks in general. I mean, there's just a ton, and then there's also just weird and wacky things that you can do on this portion of the map.
of, like, for example, shoot this with like your gun and it can go through it. So I really do like this portion of the map a lot more than I do like playing over there in the like 5, 6, 7 line, just because of the fact that there's just a ton of open area, and with a ton of open area it can be a huge downside, especially whenever cast planes start to come in. But as we can see right now, if we look at our mini-map, most of our team is going towards that area, which I don't think is really that bad of a thing. We also have a good amount of people going towards this side of the map, which is also good, and we should do pretty well. But yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see what the enemy does, and we'll get back to you at that point. Well, we spotted a KV-1S, but as you can see, a lot of their team is actually spotted going down towards that way as well. Got a T-34 coming up as well, so we have to watch out for this man. See if he pushes up. Got one over to our left as well, since I can see him on the mini-map. Seems to be just another T-34. I had to angle a little bit. KV-1 should still be down through here, I do believe. I don't think he's dead. No, he's not dead. There we go. Yeah, but this is what we're really looking for, is we're just looking at the mini-map of where enemies can be. As we can see right now, this side is also doing relatively well. Our side seems to be doing well as well, which is good. But yeah, that's how I like view the mini-map. Like right now, when I know that I'm relatively clear of enemies, I like to view where I should go next, you know, where the enemies should be appearing. As we know, they should be over in this area, and they should also be in this area of their spawn. So that'll be the two next areas that we should go to. As we can see, we're already seeing them down towards that spawn, which is a good thing. But yeah, we need to clear out towards our left, because that's where the next set of enemies should be at. But yeah, to end off this video, it's very important to actually view the mini-map. I definitely would not recommend going against it, because as you know, it gives you a lot of information. You know if people are spawn trapping you, you know if your enemies are near you, you know a lot of information just from that mini-map. And I've seen it even with spawn trapping people and shooting people inside of a spawn, where it announces that I'm in the spawn. They still don't even know that I'm there because they don't view the minimap. So it's definitely a skill that you need to learn. I definitely will recommend learning it, because it is probably one of the best skills you could possibly learn. So I hope everyone has a wonderful day.